kid from Long Island who's like suddenly thrust into like Fancy Pants, California. And he is trying to say something totally different. And he probably did meet a lot of people who are intolerant of his conservative views. Sure. And you can kind of root for him as an underdog. But then it just turns when he takes it to this area he doesn't need to take it to. And this is something I've had with a lot of conservative columnists. I would be interested in hearing someone who is a smart, thoughtful, argument and fact-based person talk about why they are conservative. I'd love to hear that. It's just that it seems like there's always some kind of social issues, let's call them social issues, also known as prejudice, mixed in that doesn't help their case at all.
Yeah, I think the emphasis often, and how do I say this, Doc? So I'm not speaking as like a reporter now because as reporters are objectives, but I think too often there's an emphasis on balance, regardless of what facts are, or regardless of what like common decency calls for. And like common decency it's just, to say something as outrageous as gay men are getting AIDS because they're consuming each other's feces is the most ridiculous, but it's the most blatant, purposeful fear tactic. Yeah. And it's what they do. It's what pundits do. And the left can be just as guilty as being completely over the top and dramatic. And, but I just think that
maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I think the left does definitely engage in some ridiculous generalizations about the other side, but I don't see that is so hateful.
No. Yeah, I'm not comparing the two, but also I think sometimes what the left can do is let sort of instead of programming and using their levers of decision to tell stories about people of color and unrepresented people, they like a lot to let white people feel guilty about it on their airways, the tears of the white mother kind of thing. That's sometimes can do that instead of just giving the spotlight to something else. You know what I mean? I don't see a lot of engagement there.
Instead of something we talked about earlier in this show, amplification.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Using your platform and your resources to amplify.
An idea we are crediting to Kumail Nanjiani, who introduced it to us through a speech at an award ceremony we attended.
But one thing I wanted to point out too is that I think that what the adaptation would look like in my head, and by the way, it would be an adaptation of this spectacular Post article. That's the source material we're talking about. It was written by Mark Fisher in the fall of last year.
And this is only 1/6 of the article.
Oh my God, yeah, it's extremely super elaborate. I think that in keeping of, if this is a villain origin story, I would love to see Hannity as a 27-year-old, wearing overalls and hanging paper in a nursery in this beautiful cliffside community of Santa Barbara, and what are the triggers that make him who he is. And then in this piece, we'll try to link to it or maybe put it on Twitter.
When the Barbara Streisand type is go through the servants' entrance.
Or I just picture him maybe sodding something, and there's the ladies who luncheon happening off to the left, and they're hearing them cry about oh God, will the hunger strike, but stuff like that. Yeah. But there's a story, there's a newspaper story about all of his antics from that time, and there's a picture of him that's the most staged shock jock. Yeah. He's on a princess telephone speaking into a dangling microphone. It's so self-aggrandizing, and I'm he's trying to form himself out of clay or marble, I guess in this case.
Yeah. Also earlier I called him a 2-time college dropout. He attended 2 other colleges besides, I guess, Santa Barbara for a little bit.
So 3-time?
I'm not digging on him for dropping out of college. Lots of people should drop out of college. There's no inherent benefit to college, but it's just to put in perspective what a kind of roamer he is at that point in his life, and how he hasn't found his voice and hasn't found his destiny, and then he does find it in the least likely place. And I think he found it in opposition to something. I think he was surrounded by so much let's call it limousine liberalism. I mean, it's probably more smoothie liberalism, but it's a very comfy bourgeois liberal place. Yeah. And he sees the hypocrisy and he sees the BS in it, and becomes this hardened lump of coal in opposition to it.
It's also, I think, important to point out, too, that if there's any smoothie or limousine liberalism going on in Santa Barbara, it is a very homogenous community.
Oh, very
much
so.
Where they are not confronted with anyone. So to be a limousine liberal in New York is to probably go outside of the 90th floor of your, Riverside Park Manor or Park Avenue or anywhere else, and interact with other people of color. Santa Barbara, especially in the 80s, was Blythe Danner, Kate Capshaw, Steven Spielberg country.
There's a great diversity of music by all kinds of different white people. I wasn't there when Modest Yahoo was popular, but I suspect he was very popular.
I have to tell you, I saw Modest Yahoo when I was in college.
Did you?
I did not understand a goddamn thing he was talking about. I'm like, this sounds so cool. And then I'm like, this is what the thing is. And he played at this very famous reggae bar in Philadelphia called Gojo's.
Cool.
It wasn't. It was very tense. Because Philadelphia is not 80% white. Thank God. Wow. Thank God.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just going to say I've seen 311 like 400 times. It's just like you would be between classes and it was like, oh, 311's playing again in Storm Plaza.
The quad. Yeah.
Oh, 311's back. Yeah. Cool. Glad we got some diversity.
Must be 311 because here's 311. Oh my God. Do you have a dream, Hannity? I have an idea for I think I would. Oh, I'm dying to know who you want to play, Hannity.
You talked about Casey Wilson. Yeah. And you showed me a scene from Happy Endings, which was very funny.
Thank you.
And her co-star in that scene, Adam Pally, I think would actually be a very good young Sean Hannity.
Wow.
Not that I think he shares any views with Sean Hannity, but I think he could be a good Sean Hannity.
I think that Adam Pally would love that comparison or that suggestion. That's hysterical. And I think he does want to do drama, so.
Want to hear an Adam Pally story?
Yeah.
I used to go to a lot of shows at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York when Adam Pally was on a really funny team of three guys. I forget their name, but they were great. God, I wish I could remember. It was like a trio. And they were basically like the Beastie Boys of improv. Like they had like the same dynamic. They were super fast. They were super quick. And they did, at one point, I just like had a terrible stomach issue and had to go to the bathroom in the middle of a show. And of course I was in the front row of the show. So I left and Pally stops the thing. This is like way before he's famous or anything. He stops the thing and like calls me out and like, what are you doing? Like we're all doing our walking imitations. Everybody was doing their Christopher Walken imitations. It's like, you're walking out during walking? And it's like, of course I'm walking out during a walking imitation. Like, that's the hackiest thing you guys have done all night. Like, you've done a great show. But
boy, are my arms tired, yeah.
You're going to hang your hat on walking? So he, like, berates me. I come back, and then they do this thing where they're playing tennis in their chairs on stage, and he keeps ramming his chair into me.
Oh, my God.
To punish me for walking away, I guess. And then at the end, spins around and quick handshake and, like, hey, sorry, I was just messing with you. It's like, of course, totally fine. It was funny. It was really funny. But, you know, since now I edit a popular entertainment site, my goal is to destroy.
Use any megaphone you might have or get your hands in reach of and destroy Adam Pally.
I still would like him to play the plum role of young Sean Hannity.
He tells this amazing story about getting fired from an Ellen Burstyn movie. She finally directed a movie I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and had been trying to package it for 2 years.
Oh, man.
And she hires him, and he gets the job. And apparently, she's like I think his dad loved Ellen Burstyn, so he gets the job. He calls his dad, and then she calls back the next day and says, "Well, sweetheart, listen, Cupcake, the studio wants someone famous, and they'll give me more money. So you can't do it." And because. How do I say this gently? Not that she's an old lady, because she's a legend, but maybe not as aware or as sensitive to the breaks. And was just like, oh, they're going to give me more money for someone famous. No, you can't have the job, but love you, sweetheart. Wow. So she was but he took it really well. And I just think so now he can have the Sean Hannity role.
Don't you have to make up a reason instead of just saying you're not famous
That's
enough?
What I'm trying to allude to, that she did not feel no filter, the need to do that.
I mean, kind of good for her, I guess.
Ben Affleck has a great joke about it. He had to fire. There was a different actor who played the villain at the Customs in Argo, who had to let the group of Canadians get on the plane.
Oh, nice.
And they said the first actor was really over the top, like a Rex Harrison cartoon, twirling his mustache, and then Ben had to fire him, and then someone said, what are you going to say? And he's like, well, I'm just going to go over there and say, look, sir, your penis is too big for this role. I'm sorry.
There's a tag to this story that I know you'll like.
Okay.
A couple years after Sean Hannity.
I'll like. I can't wait to hear this.
No, Sean Hannity leaves Santa Barbara and gets a radio job in Alabama after.
Just real quick, by the way, I have a choice for young Hannity, too.
Oh, you do?
It's controversial, though, but I'm standing by.
Oh, okay.
Especially the young one in the newspaper photograph from when he was shooting the show.
Yeah.
I think that could be Andrew Garfield.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent.
Come on.
That's absolutely excellent. That's better than mine.
He couldn't pull off the aged Hannity because Andrew is thin and young and not a demon.
I don't think Hannity is chubby in that picture.
No. I mean, he couldn't do if at the end of our movie we would cut to current Hannity.
The current Hannity.
Garfield could not age make up that part. You'd have to cast a different actor.
Yeah. I mean, we cut to the pictures of the real Hannity.
Yeah.
Like when you see Tina Turner performing at the end of What's Love Got to Do with It.
Yes, or when you just see the silhouette of Nixon look-alike in the post,
and
which
then,
we talk about almost every week on this podcast. That must have really gotten its hooks into us.
And then, like, my uncle stands up and does a slow clap at, like, he came from nothing and he became our...
White people have problems too, Timothy.
Yeah, so... I don't know why I chose my uncle for that. I don't even know a particular uncle in mind.
It's okay. Yeah, so if you have more than one, don't name him. And then
I'm not.
Cool.
I'm not.
What was the tag to the story?
The tag of the story?
Yeah, you said there's a really good tag on the story.
There's two things.
Okay.
The first is he then goes to work at a radio station in Alabama after saying he's the most controversial college DJ in America. His official bio, according to the Washington Post, I hope I can find this part, is that he has partly... In his spare time, he likes making lesbians angry or something like that.
Oh, my God.
Which is sweet. It's a cool thing to say. And then another character comes onto the UC Santa Barbara campus a couple of years later. Future American hero to Matt Donnelly.
Oh, my God.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes. Wait, what was she playing it? Oh, yeah.
She just shows up at UC
She just shows up, yes.
And, you know, because she's like the opposite of Sean Hannity in every way. Like, she's like a...
Yeah. Or like, and if you know anything about Gwyneth Paltrow, when she was going to UC Santa Barbara, she was driving to LA for auditions. So I imagine she was missing a lot of class.
Hero.
And her father, Bruce Paltrow, who was very important and influential in her life, did not want her to be an actress. And her parents begged and implored her to go to college and said, you can drive down on weekends or at night if you want to audition, but you have to at least go to school for one semester. And I think at the time, Blythe Danner was working out of the country or across the country. So that's when Gwyneth and her father started learning to cook.
Oh.
And obviously, if you know anything about Gwyneth Paltrow now, she has essentially left Hollywood to go run a massive lifestyle business that sort of started with her wanting to share her knowledge of cuisine and cooking. So I think like that's a really good origin story for Gwyneth Paltrow. That would be really funny to have playing in the peripheral of this Hateful Hannity movie. Or just make a Nancy Meyers movie about Gwyneth Paltrow's life and have Hannity be the B story.
Yeah, I'm liking the Gwyneth Paltrow story more and more.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow, the Santa Barbara years.
Yes, the SB years.
Can we open it with a frame of me working at the Daily Nexus in 1995?
Yes.
When a tabloid newspaper calls the Nexus and says, can one of your reporters go rustle up some information on a former student there, Brad Pitt's new girlfriend?
Hilarious.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Amazing.
To which I said... No, I have stuff. No. Deadline.
You're like, no, I have a feeling she'll be very important to a person I'm close to in years. Yeah.
No, they'd have to go to the yearbook room, and that's all the way over there. I'm not going there. No.
I have tickets to 311. I can't go dig up information
playing
on
at 4:15. That's a lost opportunity. Wow, guys, what are you doing?
That's a missed chance for marketing. One more thing. The last thing I'll say about Gwyneth Paltrow is that while at UC Santa Barbara, she got her first job, and it was a leading lady role in a TV movie.
Wow.
And she desperately wanted to take it, and her father refused to let her take it, and that movie was Cold as Ice, the Vanilla Ice story on VH1.
What?
And she was like, Dad, they're going to give me like $20,000 and I get to be the lead. And he's like, what's the script? And she's like, the Vanilla Ice story. And he goes, over my dead body. I love that he begrudgingly let her be an actress, and then he starts quality controlling. He's like, no, the TV movie of the week? Amazing.
I don't think he was wrong.
No, that was stellar advice.
Man. Any closing thoughts?
I don't know. I just think that, no. I mean, what would we call it? Inhanity.
Oh, wait, there's another kicker. I forgot. Years later, when Hannity is paired with Alan Combs, his liberal arch nemesis, he at one point on the show accuses Holmes of being a card-carrying member of the ACLU.